I love life. Let us receive a magnificent breath here. And begin to just inwardly feel our way into the dynamic awareness that all of life is seeking to express through us as us in this particular moment. I can say that unequivocally because the entirety of life, capital L life, whether you call that love, whether you call that peace, whether you call that intelligence, whether you call that God itself, all of this presence is right here and right now. All of the presence is right here and right now. And as was mentioned in our prayer circle with the practitioners this morning, this presence wants to know itself as each and every one of us. It already knows itself as intelligence and love and peace and wisdom and harmony. It knows itself as all of the sacred qualities that are absolutely expressing throughout the entire cosmos. But you are an ambassador, an emanation of this particular presence, and it wants to know itself as you. That means you're necessary. There's not a throwback in the bunch. So as we're working with this particular theme this month of the longing and the calling and the contribution, we're becoming aware that that longing within us is not a deficiency. It's not just a loneliness. That longing is the calling of our soul. That longing is the gestation of the activation of our potential to express itself. It is something brooding within us, a tender brooding for us to become more and never less than our true self. I want you to begin to feel that. Begin to feel that just as a photographer develops a picture in the darkness, that longing within ourselves, we have to go into the darkness at times, and sometimes we go into the darkness consciously, and sometimes we go into the darkness through the condition of something that becomes too hard to handle. We go into the darkness consciously through affirmative prayer, through sacred meditation, through life visioning. We go into the darkness, and there is a gestation or a development of our potential as that which is seeking to be developed begins to gestate and come forward and express itself, thus alerting us to the truth of the 139th Psalm, which says in substance that the darkness and the light are both alike to the presence of God, and the darkness shines as the day. And sometimes in that darkness, when the conditions aren't the way we want them to be, something has happened. There is a loss. There is a dis-ease. There's something going on that we can't handle, and it appears to be so dark. And in those moments of darkness, we breathe, and we begin to re-enchant our imagination to the great possibilities of our livingness, so that that darkness, which is the oozing of infinite potential within us, the darkness and the light, both alike to the presence of God, the gestation of an inner longing for each and every one of us to be more than never less than our true self, no resistance, no fighting of it, no seeking to pretend that it's not happening. We're there re-enchanting our imagination in those dark moments. And then there's an inner gestation, and we begin to feel that there is a calling upon our soul. There's something seeking to occur, and ultimately the darkness is shining as the day. And in that which we would call the future, we're so happy that we went through those dark moments, for it provided the activity of potential being actualized within us. The darkness shining as the day. There is a longing in your soul. It is not a deficiency. It is not loneliness. It's a brooding of an inner gestation of potential occurring in your life. I can remember a number of years ago, as we're moving down memory lane just a bit during this particular month, as we're celebrating 39 years of the incarnation of the Agape International Spiritual Center. And I can remember being invited to speak at a senior citizen center, and this is well before I was an ordained minister, well before I was a licensed practitioner. I had a spiritual awakening, and so it provided opportunities for people to be around me, for me to speak in that particular thing. And I can remember driving out to the valley and to speak at the senior citizen center. they wanted me to come speak to the senior citizen centers. I remember reminding them that their life was just beginning. I remember the talk and everything. It wasn't coming to an end. It was just beginning. Anyway, on the way there, I'm thinking about, I've had this awakening, and the presence of God was more real to me than anything else, but I didn't know what to do with it. But I didn't know what my destiny entailed. And I was thinking about this, and it had just finished raining, I remember, and the sun started shining, and all of a sudden, my future self came and said, in substance, keep doing what you're doing. I'm here. I'm doing all right. I am you in the future. I always remember that. And years later, at Agape International Center, years later, after practitionership, after ministerialship and all the things, I was speaking at a Wednesday evening service, and the rapture of the awakening, the rapture of unity was just so present within me that particular night. And as I was driving home, I saw 26-year-old Michael going to the valley to speak at a senior citizen center. And I said, don't worry, I'm with you now. And so I had a direct encounter of the 20-something guy wondering what his life is going to be, and then the next version of myself telling him was going to be okay. And as I was speaking, and I was driving into my garage at the time, and I was crying as I had this revelation of the young guy being talked to by me at that particular moment. And then there was another part of me up here telling me, you're just getting started. There's more to come. I'm saying all that to say to you that in your longing is not a deficiency. It's a tender brooding of potential. And if you're in the darkness consciously, or if you're in the darkness because of some condition in your life, you breathe, you don't resist, and you become available to the calling upon your soul. Every single being has a calling upon their soul. Every single being, there is something about you that you said you would be about, that you would contribute at this time in human history. You knew what was going to occur on the planet when you arrived. You knew of all of the toils and all of the turmoils and all of the fluctuation and all of the transformation and all of the decay of the old paradigm and the birth of the new paradigm. You know there would be chaotic tendencies happening. Chaotic means that there's order out of the chaos. You knew it, and you arrived anyway. And so there is a calling upon your soul. And I can remember in my own calling the resistance that I would go through. And I can remember the particular time in my life where me and Nirvana Gale were doing seminars, and I was having a full-time practitioner practice, and the inner voice said in substance, you're doing your work, but you're doing it halfway. And I'm thinking, I'm working every day. I'm seeing people every day. Plus, I'm doing these workshops. And they said, you're doing it halfway. And ultimately, I began to enroll in the school of ministry, not to become a minister, mind you, but just, Reverend Joanne was there, but just to be around a high conversation and around teachers and students having this higher conversation about expanding consciousness and oneness with God and the activity of our awareness. And it took me 5 years to get through a 3-year program because I wasn't interested in graduating. I was just interested in the conversation and the spiritual practices. And the assistant dean came up to me one day. He says, Michael, when are you going to graduate? And I said, well, I'm not really trying to graduate. I'm just liking taking classes. And she said, are you aware that alumni, they don't pay anything once they graduate for classes? I said, really? I took a full load and graduated the next year. And now the energy was on me. And the voice was saying, you're doing your work halfway. And then the ancestor said this to me. If you don't do what you promised you were going to do, we have no reason for you to be on the planet anymore. Seriously. I can tell you some other things that occurred. And anyway, that became a calling upon me. in which I saw the Agape International Spiritual Center more than one time in a vision that propelled me to finally just say, yes, I want you to know within you there is a calling. It may not be to start a spiritual center. It may just mean for you to remove your attention from the seduction of the world of effects, gross materialism, and all the things that the world says you must do or have to be happy, and to open yourself up to the fullness of the Spirit of the living one, the presence of God within you, and to add, and wherever you are, to find a way of being in integrity and excellence where you are, to represent God right where you are. And that becomes a rich place for the unfoldment of your soul to carry you into greater expressions of excellence and beauty everywhere that you go. And so as I'm thinking about the topic, which is living from the Word of God, living from the mouth of God, of course, we know that that particular phrase comes from Yeshua ben Joseph saying, I have not meant to live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. We know God doesn't have a mouth because God is not human. God is not made in a human form. So what does that mean? That means that we're learning to live by the vibrational frequency, the light and the luminosity of the presence of God. We are a divine photosynthetic being, meaning we're able to transmute the cosmic rays, the cosmic frequencies of the divine. We're able to transmute it into all needs met, into healing, into revelation, into living our life. And so we are invited when we hear out of the book of James, for some reason, Bible passages are coming to me lately. The book of James, that every good and perfect thing comes from the Father of lights. That is a poetic way of saying quantumly that everything comes from the cosmic rays of infinite frequencies. And that we are here to open ourselves up to that. Now, I can remember back in the old days, people thought I was crazy. But as that song that Cleo Soul sings, she says, they call you crazy because they're threatened by who you're going to be. If they're calling you crazy as you're beginning to come out of the freak, out of the world as your place of happiness, individuals are unconsciously threatened about who you're going to be because your potential is so magnificent. And there's an old saying that when you're born, you look like your parents or your family, but when you get older, you look like your beliefs and your habits. And so at some point, we begin to be aware that our beliefs, and of course, metaphysically, we have a belief that God is the only power that there is, one God, one power, one presence, one life that's everywhere in its fullness. We have a belief that we're inseparable from this presence. We have a belief that we have infinite potential. We have a belief that the darkness and the light are both the same, that our darkness is a place of gestation for ever-increasing good, to express ourselves so we don't fight against it. We embrace it, we breathe, and we allow that darkness, like in the development room that a photographer uses, to become an out-picturing of more good that we could possibly imagine. So our beliefs and our habits show up on our face. Take a breath with me here. So that we are here to what? We are here to contribute. Now remember, the moment you realize your longing is not a deficiency, it is a precursor to embracing your calling. That total surrender to the activation of your potential, that you're living to activate potential. Whatever your assignment is in life, whatever your job is, whatever it is, you're living to activate your potential. So that what? You can contribute. Now, here's the deal. When you live to contribute, and I'm not just talking financially, I'm talking about being a contributor of radiant energy, a contributor of love, a contributor of peace, of joy, a contributor of unfolding your creativity within yourself. The moment that becomes a dominant, chronic thought, how can I contribute? How can I give? How can I share? How can I radiate? How can I glow? If you begin to ask those kind of questions, you become on the right side of the universal law. And the universal law then answers that question and provides the context, you're one with God, and it provides the content, inspiration, to move you into being a contributor. Now, if in fact you've gotten hoodwinked by the material world that you think you're here to get something from the world, remember the world is a condensation of thoughts, beliefs, perception, points of view that's condensed itself and congealed itself into a world of experience or a worldview. If you've been hoodwinked into that or hijacked into that, then you put yourself on the wrong side of the law, and you will learn ultimately that, what has an individual gained if they gained the whole world but stymied their soul? But if you say, how can I be a contributor? The wholeness of the Spirit moves through you. And you have your needs met. What was the individual's name? She just received a big award. I can see her face. She's a great singer. But they were at an event recently, and they were raising money for individuals that are going through hardships right now because of the government shutdown and tariffs and all the things that are going on in the world. And she gave $11.5 million. And she said, I'm not the richest person in the room. All the billionaires were there. And she said, I'm not the richest person in the world, but I seem to be giving the most money. And she said, all you billionaires, give away your money and stop fooling around. And she walked off stage. But she was an example of someone contributing from where she was. Everyone take a breath with me right here. Release. Let's hear this from the beginning. Longing, call, contribution. Learning to live from the every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. The cosmic rays of infinite frequency. We are divine photosynthetic beings that are transmuting the cosmic rays into contribution as a way of living so that we're on the right side of universal law, which begins with the awareness of I have. Now, when you see the evolution of consciousness, you see there is a part of you that wants to deny and then affirm and then realize. What do I mean? You look at the characters in the Bible. You look at, for instance, Moses, who was the lawgiver. He was a denier. Thou shalt not do this. Thou shalt not do that. Thou shalt not do this. 10 of them. He probably had 100, but the plate broke, so he only left with 10. But anyway, but he was a denier. And you begin with denial, but you can't get into heaven by denying, right, Reverend Joanne? You can't get into heaven by just denying. You have to affirm. Jesus was the fulfillment of the law. Thou shalt love the God with all my heart and soul. I am the way, the truth, and the life. My life, you are the light of the word. They were affirmations. So you go from denying to affirming, and then that leads to a spiritual realization. I'm catching all of this now. I'm liking this. I'm liking this. Because Moses didn't enter into the kingdom of heaven. He didn't enter into the promised land. Joshua did. Why are you giving me all this stuff? Anyway, Joshua is another name for Jesus, meaning the fulfillment of the law. So in the beginning of your spiritual practice, you may enter into denials. I am not poor. This doesn't bother me. But then ultimately, you have to affirm the truth. I am the light of the world. You have to affirm the truth. The I am presence is the way, the truth, and the life. You have to affirm the truth. You are the light of the world, you see. And then a realization takes over. And you realize your oneness. You go from denial to affirmation to realization. So you may say, I'm not going to be poor. I'm not going to be sick. I'm not going to be lonely. Denying. And then you affirm it. Right where I am is the presence of God. I can't be lonely. Right where I am, the presence of God, I can't be poor. Right where I am, I'm the presence of God. You see, you go into an affirmation. And then you go into a realization. Oh, my life is the life of God. My life is the only life that there is. Feel it with me right now. Feel your longing. That's not a deficiency. That is a tender brooding of your soul, gestating a spiritual idea, calling you to remember what you said you would contribute when you got here. The darkness and the light are both the same. You're opening yourself up now to a sacred calling of your soul, the calling of excellence, integrity, generosity, creativity. And you begin right where you are, not somewhere where you're going to be, but right where you are right now. You ask, how can I bring about excellence right where I am? How can I bring about beauty right where I am? How can I bring about peace and love right where I am? And then that becomes the ripe condition for unfoldment, the gestation into the birth of a perfect spiritual idea, the next iteration of yourself. You're answering a call to greatness, a call to live by the every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God from the cosmic rays of infinite vibratory frequencies. Out of no thing, everything comes into expression as you are a conduit directly from the great power, the great presence, and the great love. Say with me, if you will, all of my needs are met now. All of my needs are met now. I'm at the center of the universe. All of my needs are met now. Why are all of my needs met? Why am I so happy? Why am I so rich? Why am I so available to good? Why is all this good happening through me now? In breath, sustain it at the apex, but feel that your need is met. Feel that if you're in the dark, you're gestating an idea. Release the sigh of ah. Now say this, how can I contribute? I have so much to contribute. How can I contribute to the birth of the new world? I have so much to contribute. How can I contribute to the birth of the new world? I have so much to contribute. Why do I have so much to contribute? Somebody scream about it. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Are you feeling this? Because there is a calling on our soul. I hear you. Woo! Your turn. For those of you who are here for the first time, this is what that means. That we load into that particular frequency, the feeling tone that all of our needs are met, that we are one with the Spirit of the living God, and that everything is working together for our good. That is coded within that sound. And when we release that sound, there is a response from the quantum field. It reflects back to us what we were putting into it. So oftentimes what we are putting into it is wordless. We use words, but words carry a frequency, so sometimes we just go straight to the frequency. And this is it. You can follow after me. Woo! All of my needs are met. Why are all of my needs met? Why am I so happy? Universal law, show me why I'm so happy. Universal law, show me why I'm so rich. Universal law, show me why do I have so much money. Universal law, show me why am I so healthy. I am answering the call, even now. Turn within for a moment. Come into the darkness consciously. closing the outer eyes. And whether you are going through a dark period in your life right now, or there were parts of your life that appear to be dark, or whether you're just turning within and going into the dark room to develop an aspect of your soul, do not resist the darkness. You're gestating an idea. Re-enchant your imagination. Here we let go of wishful thinking. We let go of I wish I coulda, woulda. All of that prevents the dynamic, transformational energy that's happening in the dark. Re-enchant your imagination with the feeling of all of my needs are met right here in the darkness. Everything is working together for my good, even though I can't physically see it. Something wonderful is occurring, even though I'm just getting a hint of it. Life is for me, even though it may emotionally feel that I'm being attacked by life. That's against principle. So life is always for us. Feel into that. Now elevate your awareness into the consciousness of sacred gratitude. You have dominion over your attention. So you can, with every breath you take, come into the deep feeling tone of being grateful for anything at all or nothing at all. Enter into this field. Say in substance, say out loud, I am so grateful for my life. I'm so grateful for my life. Feel into that gratitude. And begin to notice in this moment of gratitude, this moment of inward prayer, that your spiritual astigmatism is being healed. Your inability to see the opportunities, your inability to see the presence everywhere, the inability to see the beauty that's everywhere, your inability to see the peace breaking out everywhere is being healed right now. You're beginning to recognize this great presence in each other. You're beginning to recognize the great presence in Mother Earth. You're beginning to recognize the great presence everywhere. You're recognizing the presence of God. Say, I see God. Through the same eye God sees me. In this moment of recognition, there is a wanting that's taking place, a deep sense of unity and oneness. My life is the life of God. Oh, here we enter into this prayerful moment from this deep sense of oneness, infinite spirit, Lord God Almighty, great God of the universe, the quantum field full of living intelligence, conscious of itself everywhere in its fullness. I'm so grateful that I am one with all of life. And it is from this awareness of my oneness with the isness of life itself that I have the willingness and the ability to speak the word for each and every one of us this morning, knowing that as I am speaking this very word, this word is the vibratory frequency of the answer of every seeming issue we may be moving through. It is a law unto itself that only knows its own fulfillment. It is a law unto itself that transmutes doubts and worries and fears into a great recognition of divine faith, the ability to see the invisible. Something wonderful is happening. Say it. Something magnificent is happening. Say it. Something beautiful is happening. Say it. And it's happening through us right now. I am speaking this word. I am, the great I am presence, is speaking this word. Therefore, every organ, action, function of our body temple is made every whit whole. Our mental body is clear. Our emotional body is pure. The body of our affairs is reflecting and revealing the divine order of the universe, the cosmos itself. And I feel it. Give yourself permission to feel it. This feeling provides an opening to healing that is actually a revealing of that which has never been touched by time or experience. Oh, we're setting ourselves free this morning. We're setting ourselves free. Say, I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. O divine one, closer than our breathing and nearer than our hands and feet, we enter into this divine celebration today with the full awareness that all of life is for us and there can be nothing against us. So our spiritual back is straight, our spiritual posture is so available that life finds an opening to express through and as us today. We feel it in our bones.